So let's start the meeting. Okay, land acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge the ancestral, cultural, traditional, and unceded territory of Shoshone, Bannock, and Northern Paiute people on which we are meeting today. And then we will move on to the minutes approval for last month.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we adopt the agenda as posted in City Hall last week and posted electronically this morning, and that we defer the single action item 2A, minutes approval, for staff to bring back on agenda at a future meeting date.
We have a second motion. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. All right. We will move on to the director's.
Okay. Well, I would love to start, before I get into the slides, with introductions. I think it would be valuable. We have a brand new commissioner with us tonight, and I thought it might be helpful for you too. I know you met some of us the other day at the orientation, but I thought it might be good for us to go around, say a little bit about the work that we do in our titles, of course, and then of course for you to meet the other commissioners too. I know you already have Chris. Yeah, so why don't we start? Emily, do you mind starting?
Sure. So I'm Emily Shivers. I'm the Grants and Public Programs Manager. So you're going to hear from me in just a little bit about the grant programs that we offer, and then the public program side includes professional development opportunities and helping support the cultural community to be more successful in our grant program, and then also to help internally with kind of strategic program kind of direction and getting everyone to collaborate.
And I'm Stephanie Johnson, Public Art Program Manager. I'm going to be presenting in a few minutes on a public arts project, Final Design.
I'm Jennifer, the director, if you don't know me.
Jillian, Administrative Manager.
Next, Tilly, a cultural planner.
Kristen, a Cultural Sites Program Manager.
I'm Monica, and I am the James Castle Cultural Science Program Coordinator. I wrote that down so I can see it. Hi, Amanda Ashley. It's so glad you're here.
Thank you so much.
So actually, oh, I forgot, sorry, Melissa.
Hi, I'm Melissa Thom. I'm by day the marketing leader at Idaho Power, and on this commission, the vice chair.
Nice to meet you.
And
I'm James Smith. I'm with legal, so assigned covering open meetings commission here at Reports.
great, thank you. So, yeah. I actually, Monica, you're actually first on the list, and I wanted to let the commission know that Monica started about 7 weeks ago. I was really quick to Monica that felt it. Like, it feels like you've been here. So I don't know if you want to give them a little bit of your background so that they know, other than the fact that you're going to be running the James Castle House, what your background is and came from.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple of things. I was born in Mexico and I was raised in Idaho. So since the age of 5, I've been living in Idaho, grew up in Gooding, attended BSU. So I've been in Boise since 2005, so 19 years. Pretty plugged in to the art community. I'm an artist and I was an educator at Colorado High. I taught art and Spanish, and ceramics. So I've been at home for a little bit, raising 2 boys, 2 and 4. And I just love connecting with people and art. So I think the James Castle House is just such a good all in all place for me to be. Any questions?
Yeah, yes. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
So in addition to Monica, and I feel like I've been saying to the commission that we've been fully staffed now for like 6 months or 8 months, and then we keep adding people, which is great. So the other big news is that we did in fact hire Savannah Shawn. Is that how you say her last name? Shown, okay. She is actually physically in Boise now. She came from Alabama. And Alabama, right? And she will be working as our airport public arts coordinator. So her job will be implementing the airport arts master plan. And we hope that she'll be starting in a couple of weeks. It's in the hands of HR right now. So really excited. We had a huge number of people apply for the job. And we interviewed Stephanie and I and members of Stephanie's team plus airport staff did the interviews together. And Savannah was definitely the chosen one, if you will. So we're really excited about that. And then you're going to be hearing next month a little more detail on the interpretive tours that we're going to be offering this summer, both public art as well as history tours. And to implement the very first year of this program, which, as you can imagine, our staff has a lot of other projects going on. So with the mayor's office support, we actually got funding to hire 2 interns for the summer. So we actually made offers to a public history student out at College of Idaho, and then an art student from Boise State. Correct. We think. So we're very excited about it. They're going to be each working 20 hours a week this summer, both giving the tours after getting trained by the staff, as well as putting together their own tour by the end of the summer. That's going to be one of the deliverables. So providing some content to us as we continue to roll out and build and expand the tour program, which is called City Steps. And just wait, you'll be hearing more about it in the months to come.
Like STEPPES or no?
Just 1 P. Emily's baby that she named. So did you mean to put 2 P's in there?
We can.
There's possibility.
No, that was straight brain. Oh, yeah, organic.
So James, as you've already noticed, this operates differently than Benny and.
Do you sense that how frequent those tours are going? What are they?
They do, we have a schedule. So it's a little, I'm happy to, of course, share this with the commission. We are not ready to go to market with this yet. So, obviously this is a public meeting, but right now our schedule is looking like we're trying to reach some new audiences. So partly we're trying to reach the downtown business community as part of our audience. And so we'll be offering a Wednesday noon tour. There'll be 4 tours altogether, 2 in the public art division and 2 in the history division. And that Wednesday noon tour will be on a rotating basis. So each tour will only be given 4 times throughout the summer on every 4th week. If that makes sense. And if you're good, yeah, you should see how many big brains were in the room yesterday trying to figure out the schedule. There's also going to be a Wednesday evening tour after work, and then there will be tours on Saturdays as well. So be on the lookout. We're not ready to
Share that,
yeah, exactly.
Is there a capacity number? Like, is it a 12? Is it 25? Like, what's the?
Lately, we do 15 that can register, knowing that there may be some walk-ons, and that's okay. Anybody who shows up is allowed to be toured.
Awesome.
But it is going to be a little more structured and a lot more frequent than it's been in the past. And so partly for bandwidth of our staff, that's part of the reason we are bringing interns on. So
Fantastic. Thank you.
So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of fun news. I was flown out to Washington, D.C. last month for Americans for the Arts to do some advocacy work on behalf of the art community. And so that involves, and I don't know if I actually shared this with you all before, but that organization has asked me to serve as the federal captain for the state. Congressman Mike Simpson sits as the chair of the Interior Appropriations Committee, and that committee is what funds the National Endowment for the Arts. So it's a very powerful position. So they really need somebody in the state who has built a relationship with him and actually does that lobbying. And so they have flown me out there now twice to meet with Congressman Simpson's office to talk about NEA funding and other federal legislation that impacts arts in our communities. And so this last time that I was there, we did in fact talk quite a bit about the NEA as well as the NEH, National Endowment for the Humanities, and also talk about a couple of other key pieces of legislation that relate to funding for arts engagement on military bases, and then a separate bill for arts engagement for veterans. So those were sort of the key things. We were pretty successful with those asks, and if you were following Congress at all, which I don't blame you if you're not, they only just barely passed the budget for the fiscal year that we're in the middle of right now. And so the lobbying that ACTA did actually got the NEA funding where they wanted it to be, in part, not just me, they have other people who do what I do on other committees. So it's been a pretty interesting program, and they do some great training, we have regular meetings on Zoom when I'm here in Idaho. And it looks like I'm gonna be doing possibly some live testimony to Congress in May on next year's NEA funding. And I don't need, I asked, do you mean live, like on Zoom live or in person? And I don't have an answer to that yet, so I'm not sure what that means. But it's really been a great way to learn how the process works. And I've been working with local art communities here and arts agencies or arts organizations here in Idaho to do some similar lobbying and advocacy work at states, which we need. So just thought I would share that with you. I also, when I was there, met with Senator Rish's office and also Senator Rickles' office. So try to do some good work for our community when I'm out there. And that's all paid for by ACTA. I just wanted to give you a brief rundown on Tree Fort. Tree Fort was held, which is a big music festival. If you're not familiar with it, I ran into some of you there. I know some of you participated a lot. We were very pleased that Emily Shivers was on a grant panel there on Saturday with the Alexa Rose Foundation president and a couple of others. I'm sure she may, I don't remember who they were, but Emily can tell you in a minute. And then Tilly gave a really excellent art tour to delegations that included the mayor from Spokane, the week of Tree Fort, as well as a delegation of cultural kind of movers and shakers from Reno. So it was a great week, lots of engagement with arts throughout.
Sorry, it's creepy out there.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, where is it?
Can you guys
Wow.
see it? It's insane.
Yeah, we can. It's insane.
Wow.
It rolled in
Dang.
so fast, and I pity whoever is outside right now.
Dang. All right. There's a lot of words on the screen, so I'm not, I'll let you read it. I'm not gonna go through each one of these, but I just wanted to let you know that the work that we've been doing, and you may remember several months ago, I think I updated you that one of the things that mayor and council said very clearly to me when I first came into this position was how important it is for our department to work closely with CCDC. In part because they have a funding mechanism that really we need to sort of leverage and use for arts in the community so we can do placemaking that our team does. But also because it's just such an important agency and is so involved in the development of downtown and the other districts that they operate in. So with teams, incredible help and incredible organization, there has been a huge number of projects that have gone down in the last year and are still in the process of being executed. And in fact, just last night at City Council, they approved 2 additional agreements with CCDC for more projects. So one of those is going to be the interpretive signage project, which is going to be historical signage from 3rd Street on Grove all the way down to 15th. That will tie together the history of the district. And we'll be using, of course, an artist to do the design work for the signs. We'll be doing the content internally by our history team. And then we will also be, the medallions that Mungo designed that were just installed last week in the sidewalk in the old Boise blocks. We'll be using that design for each of the signs as a way also to unify those blocks. So really excited about that. And I, again, these are up on the screen for anybody who wants to read all of that. I don't need to go through all of it, but I really think we're making an incredible splash downtown, and Stephanie's team has just been incredible. So hats off to them. Any questions? And then finally, you guys may remember that last time I spoke with you, I told you that we were going to be we're going to be kind of visiting the commission role and the ordinance itself this year. And so I'd like to ask each of you to set aside an hour on May 1st. That's our normal meeting time. So it should be on your calendar already. Because we've had a cadence of kind of canceling our meetings every other time. Right now, it doesn't look like we have anything on the agenda for that day. So what I'd like to do instead is hold a special meeting, and that's how we'll notice it for the public, so that we can have a conversation. The staff that's going to be working on this, as well as all the commissioners. I'll send you some material in advance of that, a memo that gives you some things to think about and some parts of the ordinance that I want to talk about with you. We'll spend about an hour doing that, and then following that, over the following 4 weeks, if the timing works out right, there's no urgency to it. I'm going to be setting up meetings with each of you, probably on a 2 at a time basis, so that we can have a better conversation and you guys can talk to each other and kind of listen, to really think about how we want to redesign the commission as we move forward. And then just with regard to the other asks, we have some upcoming campaigns for communication campaigns. And is Jennifer on the call?
I wasn't seeing her on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you go to your memo that Jennifer sent and her team sent to you.
Jennifer Weber raised her hand.
Oh, she's there. Yay. Here, it's me. Can
I think so. So in attendee section, and then allow to talk.
Hi, Jennifer.
And then you can click ask.
Hi, everyone. I'm here.
Great. Did you want to comment at all on the campaigns that you mentioned in your memo that you wanted the commission to be aware of?
Yeah, let me just refer back to that memo real quick. But off the top of my head, we have the Going Public, Level Up Going Public, which is a public art learning series, which debuted in February. We have an event on April 25th, and it is a public art industry night, and it will be at Delia Dante Gallery. I know Stephanie has probably a lot more information about that, but highly encourage anyone here to attend. The rest of the series will be this fall and will focus on the intersection of art and the environment. The other campaigns we're running, of course, we're closing out on the Fettuccine Forum tomorrow. We celebrated the 20th season, 20th season this year. So closing out on that campaign on Thursday. So anyone with inclination to learn more about Boise's environmental history, Carl Brooks is an expert, and we highly encourage you to attend. That's Thursday, April 4th at 6 p.m. at Trailhead, downtown Boise. And then we are working on several other campaigns around our archives collections. We need to create increased visibility around that. So look for that as well. And then campaigns related to several outreach opportunities, and those are listed in the memo, including around First Thursday. This month is both Deaf History Month and Earth Month, Earth Day. So we have several events related to that as well. Again, I encourage you to refer to the memo that we included, that Mackenzie, Emily, and I included in your packet for further kind of information and calls to action.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, and I can't say enough. Carl Brooks, he is our final speaker in the season, this season for the Fettuccine Forum. He's an old friend and colleague of mine. He was a legislator here in Boise for many years. He served 3 terms in the Idaho State Senate. And he has a PhD in history, teaches at Kansas now. He's also an attorney, and he wrote a great book on the history of Hells Canyon dams. And he worked under Obama's administration as the administrator of the Region 5 EPA. So he is quite an accomplished guy, knows a ton about Boise, and also knows a ton of people in Boise. So I'm hoping that the attendance is really good tomorrow night. So,
I glossed, sorry, I did not mention the grant program. We have the Catalyst and annual grant program campaigns running or about to run for the annual one, but Emily is with you and will give you an extensive presentation around that.
thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, we're gonna move into presentation. So we will start with Stephanie.
I am presenting the final design for the West Neighborhood Investment Project, West Valley Redwood Park Public Art Project. It's a lot.
Helpful.
So I thought that I'd start with just a little bit of background for new members on what public art is and kind of what the whole process is that led up to getting this final design. There's a lot that goes on behind it. So public art, quite simply put, is art in public space funded by public money using the public process. So our goal is to really emphasize the public in the process, and we center the community throughout that. And arts and history plays a role in that. You know, it's in our mission, and our mission for the public art program provide meaningful experiences and opportunities through accessible public art and programming that cultivates the evolving identity of Boise and fosters a sense of place. So our public art team primarily acts as project managers throughout this process. And we're really the conduit between the community and the artists and then the stakeholders that are within that group, kind of bringing this whole thing, we're manifesting it all together. Public art and placemaking. So that's really what we're doing, is we're achieving placemaking in almost every project that we're doing. These are just some examples. Our pink tree as an example as well. An example in Tacoma, Washington, and then a couple of others throughout the Northwest. So public art, again, emphasizes the process by creating a visual anchor or marker that reflects the identity and values of a community or place. And again, in order to get to that end point of a visual anchor or a visual marker that the art ends up being, it's that whole community process of community input, conversations, all sorts of things that help an artist understand the essence of a place that the art ends up representing. This is kind of part of what we take our selection panel through so that we can help them understand what we're trying to achieve with each project. We're thinking about our collection as a whole, and we're thinking about how every project we do builds on the collection we currently have. So we're trying to pay attention to what we have and what we can do that builds that's a little bit different each time, so that we're not doing the same thing over and over. So as you know, we have site-based installations, traffic boxes, a collection called the Boise Visual Chronicle, which is a part of our Portable Works collection. And then we have temporary opportunities as well, all culminating in about 1,000 works. So the background for this particular project, again, was a part of the Neighborhood Reinvestment Program. And then we also chipped in a little bit of money from our Percent for Art ordinance. Redwood Park is located in the West Valley neighborhood's Ustick historic area, Ustick Town Site, I think is what it's called. It also hosts the Ustick and Bloom event that the West Valley Neighborhood Association puts on every year in June. So we started this process in, I think, the spring of 2022. The neighborhood association had a desire to do public art, and they had about $90,000. And so we helped them design a project to move forward with. So as a committee, we had quite a few conversations to try to get to the heart of what their shared values were. To kind of think about how we could boil that down to some things that an artist could take away and kind of turn into some visual representations. So of those, we've got nostalgia, a neighborhood and community that was trying to redefine its identity among rapid urban development and acknowledging the tension between the past and the future. It's really apparent in that area of Boise. So again, they wanted to honor the history of the neighborhood, and then also they wanted an iconic yet approachable public art piece that potentially had some interactive elements to it. One of the members put it really simply, that she defined their community as being anchored by their roots, but inspired by opportunities for growth. And then just logistics of the park. It's a high traffic park that's in the middle of a neighborhood. So the neighborhood uses it for, you know, meetups. It's kind of a dog park in a way, lots of dog walks. And then it has a bike path that kind of goes through it at one edge. So this is an aerial view of the park. There is a bathroom that's been built since this image was taken, but the artwork is going to be installed in this area where the red circle is. There's Shamrock Avenue right here, and I think Ustick is like out farther this way, but it runs this way. So really quickly, the selection panel again is who selected the artist and eventually selected how the artwork turned out. These are all the things that define their roles on the selection panel. They score the applications after they come in. And this is kind of after the artist is selected, we contract them, they move to the design process, they propose it. The proposal is reviewed and then approved, and we're at this approval stage where it's been approved by the selection panel. We've approved it, so we are presenting it to commission, and then we'll send a memo to mayor and council. So they had some criteria and a scoring rubric that they used so that they could score every application fairly and the same, so there's consistency around the review process. We use detail and completeness of application, ability to follow through, compatibility with the project vision, and then appropriateness for outdoor public display, materials, and methodological feasibility. So asking artists to think through what their eventual proposal was going to be so that we could know upfront whether or not that was going to be something that would work in the space. So we landed on James Peterson of Art and Contraptions. So this is some of his past work. He is based in California. This is his artist statement. He incorporates a lot of engineering elements into his work, and he has a whole team that creates these really cool, interactive, and very brightly colored artworks, which I think the committee was really drawn to. And so the artwork is called Passage. Yeah, it kind of evokes this feeling of walking down a row in an orchard, which is so appropriate, right, for Ustick. So I'll read kind of his artist statement on this piece here. Passage draws its inspiration from the beauty of nature
and the delightful experience of strolling among apple orchards, paying homage to the agricultural heritage of Ustick. This artwork aims to weave a sense of tranquility into a narrative that vividly mirrors the past and present day growth of the area. Passage is clad in vibrant hues reminiscent of apples, beets, and the changing colors of tree leaves at Redwood Park, offering a beautiful opportunity for all to come together and bask in the community as friends, family, and neighbors. So the materials that he's going to use are Corten steel, which cottonwoods that's out front on the plaza in front of City Hall. That's Corten. It's kind of this rusted look of steel. It's actually a stable material. And then polycarbonate panels and acrylic panels, which is what he's using for the in-between colorful pieces. And they are sandwiched in a dichroic film. So as you kind of like move around, each of the panels will kind of change colors. It's a really cool material. And then he's also planning to incorporate LED lighting in some of the upper areas. We're not totally sure how he's gonna do that. They are still working on ironing all of that out, but it's gonna be so cool.
How long is the time?
So this slide here shows us, so we're gonna be installing a pathway that these artworks, like this series of panels essentially are gonna kind of go over so you can walk through it. I think we're looking at an overall, I think it's like 15 feet. Oh, if I'm remembering correctly. So it's total height, it's about 14 feet high, and then it's wide enough. We're consulting with our accessibility person here at the city to make sure that everything is accessible and done correctly. And we're working with Parks, which has been a really fun experience on how we're doing the pathway and then being able to put it in that area that I showed. It's just gonna be really cool. It's gonna look like it's meant to be there.
How, can I ask questions? Yeah, is that okay? Yeah. How did the neighborhood feel about this particular, was it like overwhelmingly excited about this? Were there concerns that they raised about this design at all? Just if I could get like a sense of like what they're.
Yeah,
kind of
so
reaction
I
is to
forgot to include in the earlier parts of this project, when James had sort of a preliminary proposal, he offered that out for a survey, for a community survey, and so we got a lot of public feedback. We also set up tables and we did 2 tabling events at Redwood Park with the initial proposal to kind of gauge interest and answer questions and get some general feeling from community members that actually come to the park to say whether or not he had questions about what the colors should be, if it should even be colorful at all, and then if so, like what kind of color family. And so that's how he landed on the color family that he did. Trying to remember what all the questions were, but it was enough that the feedback that he got, he was able to incorporate that into his final design. And so it's been pretty known, I hope, by everybody in the community and most people that use the park that this is coming and that this is what it's going to be. We got a lot of great feedback. I'm excited.
Did anybody, and this comes from a place of deep ignorance, let me just say that off the bat. How do you feel about that rust color of the metal? And so like sometimes like some feedback I get from community members about out front, that people think it's actually rusted. It's something that it hasn't been well taken care of, and that's why it looks the way that it does. And so I guess like, did anybody raise any concerns or issues about that with the metal, the kind of metal or materials used for the?
I don't think that he included exactly what his materials were going to be at that point, because it was so preliminary in design and his materials weren't determined. We can talk later about well, I mean,
Corten steel was a trendy type of material in, the nineties and 2000s, I think, but it is what's the word? It's a solid state material, like it has gotten to a point that rust color is actually like a crust almost on it that's like protective. And so it does sort of weep a little bit, but it's not actually rusting.
Okay.
So I think there's something to be said for like how we call the material, which is truly, it's called Corten because it used to be the material that they used on shipping containers, like on the railroad. So that it's like a solid state material. It's not gonna rust.
It's not transfer, it's not transformed.
No, it's not weathering,
It's not
I think is the difference,
Okay.
which I think that they call the material that the cottonwoods is made out of on the label. It says weathering steel, but it is actually Corten
Okay,
because it's not currently rusting.
I very much appreciate that. And what I didn't lead with, which I meant to lead with, is I think this is absolutely and utterly beautiful. Like it looks so whimsical and fun. And like so a part of like what the identity is of that particular neighborhood. And I wish it was done right now so I could leave this meeting and go walk. So I just want to say thank you for the work that you did on facilitating this absolutely beautiful work.
We're excited. I will note too that Jamil and Elagio on our collections maintenance team, they have reviewed this as well and are approving of the material and the way that everything is put together, so everybody's good with it. Yeah. So next steps, we've got the final installation planned for summer, fall of this year. The issue that we're kind of running up against, as we often do, is construction contractor schedule. There aren't very many of them and they are all so busy that hopefully we get on their timeline. That pathway has to get dug out and then it's been, I think, decided that we're doing a crushed granite. And so that work kind of has to get completed as we're doing the installation of the artwork. So final engineering documents are on their way so that the artist can move into physically fabricating the artwork. And we'll be applying for permits as well. We have to apply for a building permit, which we haven't gone through that process as a team yet, so that's good to learn. Yeah.
Where will they fabricate it?
I think he said he uses somebody in Utah, but I'm not certain on that. He's got a big team in California. Yeah.
Thank you. I know how much work it was. Like, you see it and it's done and you don't realize like started in 2022. Will be done in 2022. So, thank you.
And COVID felt so real. I imagine when you were starting this project.
I think it got delayed because of COVID, because I think it was initiated in like 2019. Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
I was thinking about, I mentioned that because I was on the initial
Right.
group and I think the initial group felt like it was some kind of community building that you nurtured by bringing those people together that had been so isolated from COVID. And so that public art process, I think, was really meaningful to that particular.
It certainly felt like that. Lots of deep conversations that were cool to be a part of.
It's a beautiful piece of art. Gorgeous. Is there concerns with kids climbing them?
Definitely always something that we think about. So if like these pieces aren't going to be as low as this sketch shows, but there's like, we're considering how a person might climb it. Or how a person, all the things. I mean, we call it like the drunken frat boy test because if someone who's actually trying to break it can't break it, we're good. But if we operate under that like default strength test, then it should be at least repairable.
It's gorgeous.
No photos. Yeah. No
All right, thank you. Emily, do you want to tell us all?
Sure. Okay. So I'm gonna share a little bit about the Catalyst Grant Program, what we've been working on. Round one is, we'll talk about this, but is officially closed, and round two is open right now. We'll be closing on Friday, so I've been very busy today and lots of meetings with the community, so I'll kind of do a quick overview of the program first, just so there's a good understanding of what it is. So it is a pilot program. It is a one-time funding opportunity. We had some unexpended funds left over from COVID-19 due to lots of closures and cancellations. And so the team worked on the proposal to be able to put that funding back into the community now that things are starting to be back up. So this will fund small scale and medium-sized arts, history, and cultural activities. That includes things like public programs, events, exhibitions and tours. So it's really projects and programs-based funding. Catalyst was chosen because we gave more opportunities to be able to apply for this funding. So we wanted to spark something in the community and have them have more opportunities to apply for funding from the city. So we have, again, $40,000 that is available. It's a standard award size of $2,000, which means we're able to award 5 in each round. So there's 4 rounds. So as I mentioned, February, that was the deadline for round 1, April 5th, Fridays, round 2, June and August coming up. And then activities just need to be completed by September 30th of 2024. That's the end of the city's fiscal year. So make sure that projects are completed and funding is spent by that time. So this is just a breakdown of what that timeline looks like. So we will have our final for round 2, excuse me, April 5th, and then we'll be able to notify applicants by April 26th. So it's a really quick turnaround. And that was the point. We wanted to get that funding out there and fund these quick opportunities. And then we'll have round 3 and 4 after this. I'm going to talk about what happened during round 1 and maybe there's an insight into what was funded. And there's some stuff that's already happened that I could talk about in the past tense and stuff that will be happening. So hopefully you guys get a chance to see it. So we did a call for panelists for not only Catalyst, but also for our annual program. And we received over 55 applicants for 9 spots. So it showed a desire from the community to want to be involved in these processes. And so we have that list that we can now draw on for other opportunities that we offer as a department. And also, one of the meetings I had today was just people wanting to engage and see what other opportunities might exist outside of just panels. So I think it's something for us as a department that we're really thinking about how we can best engage the community, discussing what that looks like moving forward. But for Catalyst, there are 4 members, 4 community members that sit on the panel, and then 1 member of the commission, which is Catherine, who's not here, but that's okay. So it's been, we've had 1 round, and then they'll continue to review each round for the Catalyst program. Okay, so just to quickly go through eligibility. So it has to be completed by an individual or as a representative from the organization. It doesn't have to be a 501c3 nonprofit, but it can be. Or it can be a nonprofit friends group associated with a government agency, has to have community benefit for Boise residents, has to meet the ADA accessibility requirements, and has to comply with the Department of Arts and History Equal Opportunity Statement listed there. And one thing we added for the Catalyst grant that we will continue to add moving forward is it has to include the approved budget template. It's just made it much easier to be able to score and easily understand applicants' budgets versus the variety of things that we had gotten in the past. So it just makes it I think a more fair process overall when everyone's using the same template. And then the criteria, the breakdown is a little different than the annual grant has been in the past. And I'm going to be carrying this over to the annual grant because it's been really successful so far. But we look at quality. So how well is it written? How are they answering questions? community benefit? How is it reaching Boise City residents in ways? Alignment with City of Boise and Arts and History Department mission. That is a new addition. And for the City of Boise, a city for everyone is pretty easy to find yourself in, which is great. But it makes people think about how it really aligns with that overall mission of the city. And then the department's mission of obviously that placemaking and telling the diverse stories, past and present. So that's been really successful. Accessibility, we consider not just accessibility as far as how to make it accessible to the public, but also we include affordability in that. So we ask people to have their ticket prices be $20 or less to make it accessible to the public. And then management, overall project management of the grant and timelines, and did they get the proper venue permits and all of that kind of stuff. All right, so this is the fun part. So round one, we actually received 17 applicants for 5. As I mentioned, you can only fund 5 of those. 9 were brand new, never had applied for our grant program before. And that's really what we were hoping to reach. So that was exciting to see that number be so high. And then 3 were recommended for funding and approved for funding. So I'll talk about that in one moment. So overall, $34,000 were requested with only $10,000 being able to award. So there's a great need in the community that you can see there.
I'm sorry, I think I missed this. Can you?
Yeah.
So you had 17 applications, new applicants were 9,
Yes,
and you funded, how many did you?
we funded 5 total, but 3 of those were brand new
Okay.
first time applicants.
Thank you.
All right, so we did have a few that were not qualified for various reasons. And I reached out to them and made sure that they were aware of why and maybe could reapply again, but Garden City is not Boise, so that was one. And then we had a few that we've been getting quite a few murals, and the mural has to go through the city's mural process and be in phase 2 of that process before it could be funded by our grant program. So there's a variety of reasons here, and then also someone didn't submit the budget. They actually didn't submit a budget at all, so that was something that they could apply again in the future. We had a few that were declined, and I will just say overall, the level of projects that were submitted were amazing, and it was such a challenging for our panel to have to make those decisions because we could only fund 5. So ultimately, sometimes the result was just, we don't have funding to fund everyone at this time. But the wonderful thing about the Catalyst program is they have 3 more rounds. And so I know a lot of people were planning to apply again, even though they did receive funding in round 1. And we're able to get feedback from the panel, which is also a nice bonus.
Can I ask a question about, because I know the purpose of the fund is to support small to medium organizations, primarily those that are emerging,
Yeah.
that are relatively new.
Mm.
And so like I see a lot of organizations on here that are not new,
Yes,
but the project might be.
Yeah.
And so how do you think about that with the Catalyst program?
yeah, I think that's something so in the rubric, there is a bonus point that is given to first time applicants to give them a step ahead. And so there is that bonus sort of built into the scoring process to try to give that opportunity to people, but we won't turn anyone away necessarily to apply for the grant program. And I think for us, it might be a new project or program, and that still fits within the scope of what Catalyst would intend to fund. But we really want to fund emerging and new artists, and that's what we're seeing a lot of in our applications. But I think it's a great point. We see a lot of the same people because they have the capacity to apply for grants. I think that's part of it. But
Yeah, I think my question is about, does it count for a Catalyst if it's a new idea
yes,
supporting new artists, but it's by an organization that has been around for some time?
yes, that does count.
So
Yes.
that does count as that, and do they get that bonus point or do they not?
They would not get the bonus point, no, because I go through our list. We have a very comprehensive list of past applicants for, oh my gosh, I don't even know how many years, but I think since almost the beginning of the program. So I do a search and then I can determine if they get that bonus point or not. But they are still eligible to apply even if they've applied before, if it's a new project.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, hopefully that was clear. Alright. And so then finally are awarded our top 5. So I'll go through each one just really briefly, but each one got $2,000. So this is my personal picture. I actually had a chance to go see this. It was so cool. So Backyard Artists is a newer organization in Boise, really supporting emerging individual artists of various types. But this was an installation at Jump for the Illumibate celebration. And so the funding went to, I believe it was 14 Boise artists ranging from Boise State students, local high school students, as well as established emerging artists to create what they call Dreamscape. So you walked into the Pioneer Room at Jump, and they created this giant brain with lots of things you would see in your dreams. So it was a really immersive and fun experience, and we were really thrilled to be able to support that. So Idaho Dance Theater, they had their spring performance, so it was called Get Strong. So this is one that has been a previous grant recipient in the past. It was a new project, new performance. And so this is one that would fall into that category. We had Teal Gardner, and I hope I do not butcher this word, but Eco-Geoglyphic Observatory. And so this is a group of socially engaged, community-centered artists that create different installations and exhibitions. And this one's called the Visitor Center. It's at Wing Studios. It'll be on view until April 20th. And it's really looking at kind of the connection between the environment and the built environment, the urban environment. So it's really, really interesting, and they have a few events that are also part of the grant funding. I think one is coming up, it's on their list and probably in your cultural resource guides, but it's like a gameplay that you can participate in, so really cool opportunity there. And then okay, Flamenco Idaho, we're funding, it's called Flamenco 4x4. So it is a performance and art exhibit at Wing Studios. So Kelly Brown is bringing in a female flamenco guitarist named Brenna McDonald. And they're going to do a visual exhibition as well as a performance art. So it's multifaceted, lots of different types of artwork. That one will not be happening until I think it's June or July, but needed to secure some funding to get the flamenco guitarist on board. So things to still look out for if you haven't seen it yet. And one I don't have a slide for because it is absolutely brand new is a newly founded all-female theater ensemble called The Luminary. And they are going to produce a play focused on a group of women as they guide a young woman on the brink of adulthood through the trials and tribulations of womanhood. So they secured the funding to help with the development of the play itself and then early production costs of that. So I don't even have a slide because they don't have any pictures. They're brand new. All right, and then just briefly, annual grant program is coming up. It will open on April 29th and close on June 14th, but it will have that $150,000 award amount. People can apply for between $1,000 and $5,000 with $500 increments. It will be for that next fiscal year. So if you apply for a catalyst, you could still apply for that annual grant. We'll be funding different fiscal years. A few updates. So I mentioned I'm going to be carrying over that criteria over from the Catalyst grant. So that pilot was really successful. The panel really appreciated a new rubric, which we're going to also bring over. That was a little bit easier to score with. And then I've incorporated office hours as well as information sessions. So we'll have 3 information sessions, April 29th, April 30th, and May 4th. And unfortunately, now I'm realizing I'm going over Tilly's party, but it's okay. But yeah, so they'll have plenty of opportunity for in-person information sessions virtual information sessions that will be recorded that they can watch at any time. And then office hours that they can sign up to meet with me individually and get information. And then this is just a breakdown of the timeline of that. And it's very similar to years past, where it's open and closes June 14th. There'll be a panel review meeting in July. It'll go through commission review, so you'll be seeing me, I believe it's August 7th, as the meeting on the calendar. And then it'll go through city council and mayor review. And then we'll be able to notify applicants around September 1st. And then that funds projects all the way through September 1st of 2025. So the quick breakdown of that. And that's all I have. So if you have questions, I will just one quick plug. I do need one additional commission member to serve on the annual panel. I have Chris signed up right now. But if there's anyone, please feel free to come up to me afterwards or reach out to me by email. I need one. Yeah. Thank you.
It's fun. I'll put that.
Yeah, thank you.
It's fun. I think we were talking about it at our leadership meeting. It's a lot of work, but it's fun. So we might end up, does anyone have any other topics for discussion?
I do have one question. For those that are denied, do you offer them like a letter of this is why to help them? I mean, and I'm just coming from like, I do know that one of the people that was on there that was denied, I'm wondering if it was maybe possibly an understanding or a language barrier. And so just wondering if that's something that you guys cover.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so we, I will do a notification letter and it includes notes from the panel of things to look at or address, especially with Catalyst, because they would have the opportunity to apply again. I also encourage them to reach out to me.
Good.
And I've met with, I would say, a good majority of the people on that list and provided feedback. And I also offer a review of their applications prior to submitting. So I know that, yeah, sometimes that language can be a barrier, so I help try to clarify.
Emily, that's great that you do that.
Yeah, I hope it's helpful.
Do a lot of people take you up on that?
Yes, yeah, and in the best way. And I do require a week prior to the deadline, just so I can, give them feedback in enough time. But office hours reviewing have been very, very popular. And I've been busy doing that, and I think it's been helpful. I always have the disclaimer, I do not serve on the panel. So hopefully, but I try to give them some suggestions or feedback based off of what I know they're scoring on.
Thank you.
And if I understand it correctly, if they get a Catalyst grant, they're not eligible for it.
They are.
Or they are.
Not, because it's different fiscal years, so,
Okay.
yeah, so they can
Okay,
apply
that's good to
for Catalyst and annual because they'll have to complete Catalyst prior to September 30th. And then annual will begin October 1st, so we're funding different projects, different fiscal years, yeah.
Okay. That's good. All right, anything else? We'll end early today. So I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Do we have this? Do we have to have a second?
Might as well.
Do I have
Here.
a second?
Second.
Commissioner Walker seconds it. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, guys. She's got to put on her lip gloss. She can't participate in the meeting right now.
We are done.